Many have asked, well, if God created everything, who created God? That's a fair question, but the Bible doesn't actually say that God created everything. What it actually says is, in the very first verse in the Bible, Genesis 1, verse 1, in the beginning God created not everything, but the heavens and the earth. So right there you have the creation of time, space, and matter. Science tells us that the universe is made up of space, time, and matter. All three are right there in the very first verse of the Bible. In the beginning, that's the creation of time. God created the heavens, that's space, and earth, that's matter. The creation of time, space, and matter are all three right there in the very first verse of the Bible. Who created God? The answer is no one, because God exists outside of time, space, and matter. God exists outside of the time, space, and matter universe. Imagine your cup on the table, your kitchen table. The cup represents the universe. Your table represents God. God exists outside of the universe. Now, in your cup, and here's my cup right here, full of Snickerdoodle coffee. In your cup, perhaps, is coffee or water. If you have coffee, perhaps you have coffee creamer in there. You add whatever you want to make it your coffee. Or tea. If you love tea, perhaps you put something in that tea, some sugar, some honey, whatever you want. But it's all in the cup. The cup is placed on the table. The table represents all of God. The universe and all that is in the universe is represented by the cup and everything in the cup. Or you can use the metaphor of a plate of food. Imagine it's dinner time and you have your plate of food on the table. On that plate is whatever you want. Perhaps chicken, fish, vegetables, some fruit, perhaps some seasoning for the fish or chicken. I love paprika or cayenne pepper. I like spicy myself. How about you? If you have green beans or vegetables, perhaps you add salt, but it's all there on the plate, right? That plate of food represents the universe. All the galaxies, all the stars are all represented by all the green beans and the fish on your plate. Now, your plate is on your table. The table obviously is much bigger than your plate of food. Your table represents God. God is outside of your plate of food. The plate of food is on the table. The universe is apart or near God, but God exists outside of the time, space, matter universe. So God is the only thing that has no beginning and has no end. You might think of energy as a synonym of God. If you ask a physicist or some scientist to describe energy, pure energy, they might say things like, it always existed, it will always exist, which means it is immortal, infinite, eternal. It is never created or destroyed, it just changes forms. If you ask a theologian or a pastor like me or a Bible teacher to describe God, God is described in similar terms. God always existed, will always exist. God is not created or destroyed, simply takes different forms: Father, Son, Holy Spirit, so on and so forth. So God, like energy, always existed and will always exist. So you have nothing to worry about. Everything's going to be just fine as you trust God. Whatever it is in your life that you worry about, that you panic about, that gives you anxiety, you have nothing to worry about. Everything is going to be just fine in your life. Relax. Put what you can't handle in God's hands. You do what you can handle, and what you cannot handle, put it in God's hands. Yes, there is a God. You put what you cannot handle in God's hands, and God can do the impossible in your life.